Many of those who are starting a small farm or a homestead are escaping from something. They're looking for significance. They're looking for a peaceful way of life. They're looking to disconnect from distractions. And we're here to help you do that. I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. One of the challenges along your journey of life is to find peace and tranquility, and that's very often difficult in the modern world. We're constantly bombarded by media, by distractions, by an unlimited supply of candy for our brains. Candy, in fact, that creates dopamine and forms addictions around meaningless activities such as, just surfing the internet. I've seen people, and I've done it myself, unfortunately, where I'm just scrolling through the trailers of Amazon looking for something to watch. And there's a difference between looking or searching and actually finding. But if you don't know what you're looking for, it's difficult to find anything. So you might be in a city right now. You might be in an awkward situation, and you think that if I just create a homestead, I'll be debt free. If I create a homestead, I'll be able to connect with my neighbors. If I create a homestead, I'll be able to survive this economic collapse. And that is not the case. In fact, there are certain elements of an enlightenment or an awareness that you need to achieve where you're at today before you start your small farm, homestead, or any type of life change like that. Moving is a difficult thing. It is a life experience. It makes you create decisions. For example, do we take all the things we have? Do we get a smaller house? Do we get a bigger house? What do we need? Now, my emphasis is always planning, but there's one set of planning that feeds both your spiritual needs as well as the emotional needs you have that are drawing you towards a slower, more simple lifestyle. Now, this particular guide is something you create. It's actually part of an exercise that we do. I have this guide for myself, and I go through it, and I do the things that I'm going to share with you right now. But it's something you can create for yourself in order to build guidance, to maintain focus, to develop posture, and ultimately move towards your goals or objectives. So, for example, if you say, well, I want a homestead, what does that mean to you? What does it mean to have a homestead? Is it the pioneer homestead where it's constant struggle and you're literally from scratch starting over again? Or is it the cottage edge homestead where everything is beautiful and dynamic and quaint and relaxing? Anne of Green Gables type of environment. Or is it something rugged like a hunting cabin or a place in the woods where you and your family can go and create memories? These elements are built on not just your desires to escape the drudgery, the frustration, the costs of this world, not just financial costs, but emotional costs, and to move towards that tranquil, relaxed, pleasing environment. The way this is done is by observing certain tenets and beliefs so that you can build into a reality your own personal Garden of Eden, your own personal state of relaxation, your home that you don't want to escape for holiday. You are living the dream. You're having that experience that you've always wanted. And we do this through what I call a book of enlightenment. Now, you can use this book of enlightenment concept for spiritual enlightenment, and you can use it for your day-to-day enlightenment as far as awareness and situational growth. But I would always encourage you to move towards the spiritual in the sense of what is your beliefs and foundations. If you're a part of any of the Abrahamic religions, you're going to have certain beliefs, tenets, faith, certain approaches to the world. Is that reflected in your home life? And see, this is where the disconnect comes. You believe something, you want something, you desire something, but in your home life today, it's not there. There's a distraction that's not there. One of the things folks tell me about is they want to eat real quality food. And I said, well, what does real quality food mean to you? And they say, organic, USDA organic. I say, wow, there's a lot of things that are acceptable in USDA organic. We talk about those things. I say, are those acceptable for your lifestyle, for your, the way you want to eat? And it very often isn't, because what's organic in the grocery store tends to be what's accepted by a government regulation, what's accepted by the negotiations of lobbyists and regulators. What they really want is something more along the lines of halal or kosher, knowing that the food has been prepared with care, knowing that the food has been holistically or humanely raised, and that animal didn't stress, or the vegetables were not, they didn't put human feces on it to feed them, as a lot of the imported foods do to the United States. Now, there's approaches to this that needs to build on your spiritual beliefs, on your religious beliefs, on the tenets of your life, maybe even traditions of your family, because those things have meaning. Just like when you eat seasonal food grown locally, you gather the enzymes and the nutrients and the very best freshness of that food. When you reconnect with your belief system, even challenge your belief systems, you'll find that you become stronger, more clear-minded, and ultimately more likely to achieve your goals. Now, you're going to make a study of your growth. Now, what does that mean? That means journaling about your successes, journaling about where you want to go, sitting down and having a family meeting and saying, hey, look, here's what we have planned. Let's work together to get this accomplished. It may be the church service that you go to. It may be the Bible study that you do, or any study of a religious book or pretext. But this thing I'm calling the Book of Enlightenment, or this book of practice, is where you're going to capture those things you believe. Now, again, I've got a project management approach to everything, and this book of practice becomes a study guide to your beliefs, desires, and motivations. Now, why is that important? Well, just like you can become uncomfortable in the world you're in today, just like you can become fearful because of news and new information that you gain, even if you were able to snap your fingers and have the homestead of your dreams today show up for you, if you don't know clearly what that is, you will not maintain satisfaction. And that's why we promote intentional thrift, simple living, going back to the land in a respectful way where you're working with the land rather than forcing the land to do what you desire it to do. A symbiotic relationship with nature as much as our own nature and our own beliefs and our own desires. And so when you're journaling about the successes, you can catalog the things that you enjoy, the things that bring you peace, the things that bring you growth. You can focus on that internal practice. I know today in the world of social media, everybody's showing somebody something. Everybody's either boasting about the things that they have or talking of the desires. This is an internal practice. This is taking your beliefs, this is taking your wants, your desires, and internalizing them in the appropriate action and starting to apply them in your life. So here's an example. Let's say you live in a city right now. Let's say you live in a less than desirable place and you want so badly to have nature under your feet, in your hands, to see the growth of plants, to see the health of animals, to be part of a community. And maybe this is something you can do right now, maybe it's not, but what are you doing in your life today to plant the seeds of a garden that's closer to home, of a community that's right next door, of a connection with the nature that's around you today? See, this isn't something you have to wait to do. This isn't something that is out there. It's actually something you can start right here internally as you're being mindful about your journey, moving towards your goals and objectives. You can actually use a book of practice, for example, to write down the tenets, to describe what your world should look like. It can write down, in fact, my mind writes down quotes and Bible passages and meditations and different activities that I can do to reconnect myself with, where I want to be, my sense of who I am. And this book becomes guidance. Now, in some religious teachings, you're going to have tenets that are available in your religious tenets. You're going to have your covenants and other activities that are built into a religious practice or a traditional practice. It's good to question these things, but again, once you've committed to them, write them down in Cliff Notes. Write them down in reference tools. Write them down so that you can make a study, a mindful journey of these things so you can move towards your goals and objectives. Now, this alignment between your internal belief system and the environment near you, which is your home environment, is part of an evolution of just how you shape things. So, for example, if your home is cluttered and you long for a clutter-free environment, maybe a modest home that is easier to clean, activities that you're doing outside, it doesn't matter where you are today, you can start doing that. If you've got a 5-bedroom house and you want to scale down and plan for retirement, you can empty rooms out in your house and just leave them empty. They'll be easier to clean. You don't have to have these things. The attachment to these things, the attachment to bad habits, very often distracts you from that forward movement as you seek wisdom and guidance to move forward. And that wisdom and guidance is very important, because right now, if I gave you an empty notebook and I said, here, write a journal, you might not know what to put in the journal. And so what I'm advocating here is that you write down your observations of the tenets and the activities around you, and you think about what it is that you believe and what is it that you want. You write that down in your journal. So now we've addressed that. You can move forward. The book of practice, when we sit down as a course and we start going over the book of practice, it could be as simple as meditations or affirmations that you read to yourself when you're feeling stressed. And you might go and open, so I've opened the page up here, and it says the joyful tenets of a fulfilling life. And I wrote a short essay about my journey and some of the things that I desire in life. And then I can sit down and think about those things and go to my journal, go to my religious books, go to my philosophy books, go to poems, and I can read and I can say, okay, I'm looking to live a certain lifestyle. And my current life is not where it wanted to be. What's the difference? Let's find that delta. And then I write in my journal, and I read. I might find some inspirational piece of material, and I put it in my book of practice. I can confirm, shape, and build who I am, as well as challenge, push, and grow in areas where I need strength. Again, this is a study of your growth. So journaling your successes, journaling areas where you can improve, journaling on areas where you can thoughtfully adjust daily behaviors in order to move towards that goal and objective. Now, a lot of times when clients use this particular program and they get their book of practice together, they find that they are more fulfilled even where they are right now. So they may not be in a situation that's desirable. They may not be in a situation that is their end goal, but they feel peace and clarity to make better decisions. They're able to focus their time and energy not on the useless distraction, not on what other people want them to focus on, but they grab a book and start reading about the things that they want to do. I'm interested in a duck rice system. Now, where I live today, I could do a duck rice system, but I've got neighbors that might complain if I had a bunch of ducks in the backyard. The area is not zoned for it, but I can certainly invest in a book, and I can start reading up on duck rice systems. I can look for somebody in my community who's got ducks, who wants to do something similar, and I can go work with them. I can start a small model of what I'm looking to do. Rather than doing it full scale, I start a small model. Do you see how this works, folks? You're not that far from your dreams. You're not that far from your goals. It starts with understanding what it is that you want and why do you want it. Now, the book of practice method that we particularly use is kind of, we sit down in a group and we talk about goals and objectives. We talk about the permaculture ethic. We talk about individuals' needs and desires. And then we sit down and we write. Now, your book of practice doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, mine's kind of a catalog that I can jump around in depending on my mood or my situation. But that journal is completely private. So I might pull from the book of practice a tenet about praying in silence, using breath to feel peace and relaxation. That's actually number 16 in Want to Hear Receive Peace and Humble Meditation Prayer, talking about how I like to pray. Not only how I like to pray, but maybe how it's been commanded in biblical text or how scholars have written about it. I'm creating this book of practice for me. You might do something different. But again, I've been able to challenge everything that's in there to find that firm grounding, and then that is a foundation to build on as I move towards a more simple life in the country, or a more fresh food, or an abundance that only is available through a food forest or through fresh organic food in your own yard. Can you see what we're talking about here? While you may desire that hunting cabin in the woods, that family campground, that homestead, that small farm, or even a glorious estate, we have to challenge the beliefs of why, so that we can start taking this incremental steps towards that goal rather than waiting for something to happen. See, we don't know how long we're going to live. We don't know if we're going to be here tomorrow. So why not start doing the things that bring joy? Why not behave in a way that brings peace? Why not start cultivating the environment that we have as we move towards the environments that we desire? Now, if you'd like specific help in building your own book of practice, or you'd like to go through one of our courses where we look at that holistic relationship with nature and how to live with an environment rather than forcing that environment or conforming that environment to your every whim and desire. Very often you'll find out that when you work with nature, you can quickly adapt to nature's changes. You can quickly enjoy the rain as well as the sunshine. And this is something that is very compatible with the Abrahamic religions and a lot of religions that are around the world, because it builds on that connection with our supreme God force, our saviors, in the sense of how we became to be. Now, here, I'm not here to profess any particular religion or faith. I keep it pretty non-denominational. But the concept is the same in every religion, and that's your first homework exercise. If you don't have a journal, grab a notebook, grab a pad of paper. If you don't have a book of practice, do the same. Grab a notebook, grab a pad of paper, and that's your first thing. To whom are you going to seek approval? To whom are you going to be loyal? To whom is going to be your master? Now, if you're your own master and you're loyal to yourself and you're loyal to your family, write it down. If you're loyal to your God and you follow the tenets that have been prescribed to you, or you've developed a system of practice that your family's followed in tradition, or you've adopted some other tradition, write it down. Explore whether or not you're living within that guidance, whether or not you've adopted that guidance. Whatever it is for you, the better and stronger you can be as an individual, the easier it will be to maintain your liberty and to pursue happiness. The easier it will be to maintain peace and to have wisdom. And when you have these things, you'll again have a clearer mind. You'll be moving towards something of value. You'll be a more valuable asset to your family. You'll be able to more easily support them and provide for them. You'll be connected in meaningful ways, and you'll gain so much more significance in the day-to-day activities that you do. Now, it's not all candy and cake. There will still be times where you'll have frustrations, but again, the journal and the book of practice become anchors. The book of practice, again, is a reference guide that helps you reconnect with your beliefs. It helps you affirm your beliefs. It helps you study and understand how you understand the world or how you see the world. And then the journal is part of the documentation around your application. It's thoughts and paper. It's an opportunity for you to sit down and see where you were last year and see what you've been feeling and understand where you're going. And I know some of you guys out there think this is a little touchy-feely, but even Marcus Aurelius had a journal. Many warriors take the time to reflect. The turmoil of battle can get stuck and spin in your mind if you don't take time to capture it, write it down, to address it, to think about it in the context of your activity, to make adjustments to your behavior. It is an activity that will strengthen you spiritually, mentally, even physically as you move through life. I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. Cultivating the world that you want in a small farm or a homestead can start where you are today. You don't need any special tools. You do need to reflect. You do need to talk with your family. You do need to sit down and have a plan. We're here to help you do that. If you have any specific questions, visit us at www.prosperityhomestead.org. We have a number of resources there that help you get started, including a free newsletter. And, of course, go to the contact page and you can ask your questions. I love to hear your questions. In fact, it's a free service I do because I find the more I can answer people's questions, the more success stories I'll hear as you implement these lessons that we're teaching. If you have anything to add to this conversation, share it too. I love your comments as well. And there may even be a comment section below where you can provide feedback. But again, it doesn't matter so much what you think of this. It matters what you do with it. And when you apply these strategies to observe your tenets, to write your book of practice, to journal on your day-to-day activity, to internalize practice, to do the things that we've talked about that help you be mindful along your journey, you win. Your family wins. Your community wins. The world wins. And I want to thank you for being a part of what we do here. We're here to help you realize your dream of a small farm or a homestead and to ultimately live a better life, to live in safety, peace, and liberty. And we're here to help you do that. Thanks for watching or being a part of what we're doing here. I'll see you in the next podcast.